And I'm going to go ahead and mute you all really quick. Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay, so welcome to week 4. You know what week 4 out of 8 puts us halfway through, which is pretty exciting. So you've already got project 1 down. And so now we're going to start working on project 2, which, you know, project 1 is a little more creative and technical, and project 2 is just a lot more writing. And so is project 3. So just to kind of warn you, that's sort of where we're going. Let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and we'll get the PowerPoints for today. Let's see, whoops. Oh, there we go, slideshow. It's like, where am I? Okay, okay. So here we go, week 4. So last week, you guys posted your projects, you did the peer review, and that seemed to go pretty well, really. I was kind of wondering how that would work, but you guys seemed to all figure it out, so that was good. And I hope you got some good feedback on that. And I'm going to be grading your projects this week. My plan is to have them graded before Friday. So let's keep our fingers crossed that I can pull that off. And so, so this week, week 4, you're going to be looking at chapter 12, which is writing informational reports in your text. It gives you a lot of really good information about that. You're going to look at the project 2 assignment or prompt, and we're going to look at that today together. You're going to look at writing memos in chapter 9 because you're going to write a memo. And you're going to review a couple of student examples, kind of like you did last time with the video, but we're looking at student examples. This assignment used to be called analytical reports, and now it's called informational report. So just to note, those two mean the same thing for this particular assignment. Okay. You're going to do post a discussion, and after you've looked at the informational reports, kind of like we did the video, you're going to talk a little bit about what you liked and didn't like, and then you're going to submit small writing assignment 2, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Okay, so let's look at the informational report first. So for this assignment, project 2 and project 3, I'm going to move this out of the way. Project 2 and project 3 are connected. So when you decide on your subject or your topic for project 2, you really need to already be thinking about what you're going to do on project 3 because they work together. So what you're going to do is you're going to write an informational report about a problem in your community. Your analysis needs to include some research on the topic and some methodology. And so that's the informational report is project 2. And then project 3, you're going to write a recommendation report based on your analysis of the problem. So you could take a problem in the community. So you could take a problem like homelessness, and you could write an information report about homelessness in Albuquerque, or you can even make it smaller. Like I live near UNM, so I might talk about homelessness near UNM. Do you know what I mean? You can make it as small as you want, or you can make it as large as you want. And then, so I would write an information report about that. And then my recommendation report would be like maybe a series of recommendations about what the city could do about homelessness, or what I could do, or what we could do personally about it. Do you see how that kind of works? So there's been obviously a lot of attention about police brutality and about the role of the police. You could take the idea of an information report about what the police do in Albuquerque, what their duties entail, and then a recommendation report about what you think they should do as opposed to what their duties are now. Do you see what I mean? You could take on something like that. You could take on, let me see, can you guys think of any other problems that you might write a report about? What would you think, Brian?
I was going to do mine on, it seems like after it seems like in the past like year in Albuquerque, traffic's gotten better, and then COVID happened, and now everyone's back to driving like maniacs again.
So it would be, so if you would do like, you could do a information report about like accidents in Albuquerque, because they have like maps that show you where most of the accidents happen.
Okay.
And things like that. I had a student a couple years ago that did a report on it. He was an ambulance driver actually. So it was kind of fascinating but there are maps that show you like where more accidents happen. You can kind of take it that way.
Okay.
You could look at history of traffic tickets, but you're going to want to think about like, there's personal experience and then there's like finding the, nuts and bolts of that.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's a good one. It's a good topic. What about you, Victoria? Do you have any ideas on what you might do?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking on the oil field problems, because here I live in Lovington, New Mexico,
Uh-huh.
and right now a lot of people doesn't have a job because
Right. Because the price of oil is like lower than.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it, but I don't know how to solve it. So I don't know.
Well, you could write an information report about oil in your community.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or you could write it about, is it mostly fracking or is it drilling?
Mm.
I don't know. I was just curious.
Yeah.
So you might talk about, oil in your community, an information report about that. And your recommendation might even be like, instead of depending on oil, here's other industries that we could bring into our community,
Yeah.
that would not be so volatile.
Okay.
I mean, oil is super boom and bust, right? I mean, it is the Saudis and the Russians control a lot of the oil pricing, which leaves it out of our, like something we can't do anything about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you could certainly think about that. Another one to think about too is like, I know a bunch of students in this class also live on Navajo reservations or in very far in rural areas of New Mexico. And one of the biggest problems is not having good internet in those areas and what could be done about it. So that's another issue. So anyway, kind of think about that. And then, like I said, when you think about this, when you think about project 2, be thinking about project 3, because, and even time-wise, they roll out pretty quickly. So as you're writing 2, you're almost in your head writing 3. Does that make sense? So, okay. Okay. So this is kind of like the little, I don't know, the little like story about project 2. You can kind of imagine that you work for a consulting firm that's been hired to analyze a problem, and a problem that community leaders or people in the community are worried about and complain about. And so you just want to give information about that problem. So in project 2, you are not giving answers. You're just giving information. You don't give answers until project 3. So really kind of draw that hard line for yourself. Kind of also think about who your audience is. Is it homeowners? Is it people? Is it workers? Is it, like I said, like the Albuquerque City Council? Do you see what I mean? Or a local city council, you might just be thinking kind of about that whole piece. So, so you want to design your project in your report. You're going to want to use MS Word, which has some really great design features. You want to put in some images. You want to make the report be very readable. So kind of working on how to make the report readable, how to put in graphs and charts to make it understandable, how to make it accessible, so it just doesn't look like just like a bunch of words on a page. Do you see what I mean? How can you use headings and bold and other things to make it so that your reader can go through it easily? Let me see. You're going to want to do a little research, and you're going to you can use either MLA or APA with that, either one. Just use it correctly and let me know if you have any questions about using that. You have guides for both in the back of your book. So this week, you're going to look at the examples under, remember the examples are under analytic report, even though we're calling it an information report. And then this was back when this class used to be called 2219. So that's why it's going to say 2219 on it. And then what do you think that how do you think that they did? Was it in depth? How did they do some multimodal pieces like images or charts or things like that? How did they use some of these principles to design, balance, alignment, grouping, consistency, and contrast? Grouping is really important, especially on these larger papers, because if you group things well, then your reader can understand what you're doing piece by piece. So kind of think about that when you organize it, how to present this. So you want to post yourself, and then you want to respond to one student's post. So your initial post needs to be done on the 25th, and your response is due by the 28th. And you need 250 words between the two. But you guys are used to that. We've done that a couple times now. The other thing you're going to need to do is small writing up assignment number 2. So I want you to discuss, I don't really have a word count on this, but I want you to discuss your topic. What's your topic? What do you think your research question is? What's the purpose of your report? You might also talk about the audience in there. Describe your methodology, like how are you going to research, or what kind of research resources are you going to use? What websites you're going to use. So you're going to be thinking about all of that, and this little writing project kind of gets you sort of moving, thinking about those things beforehand, and then I can give you some feedback once I've read it, and maybe give you ideas for more sources, or maybe able to just give you some help on that. So it'll help me help you as well. So that's small SWA 2. So you just want to make sure as well on these writing assignments, you want to make sure that your grammar is on point, that you use correct punctuation. You're going to be graded on your content, but you're also going to be graded on just the general, it's an English class, just the general English class things like grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, that sort of thing, spelling. So, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have a word count, 350 to 400 words. So that gives you kind of an idea. And you're going to put this whole piece in a memo format. So it's like a memo to me. And I've given you, there we go. So I've given you kind of a guideline about how to use a memo. And this is the memo I suggest you use. And I'm going to show you how to find that. Okay. So hang on a second. I'm going to open Word. Okay. So I've just opened MS Word here, right? You guys look familiar? Yep. And then I'm going to go to New. And then when you do this with New, you can come down here for search for online templates, and you can type in memo. And then it'll give you memo templates. So it's a lot easier to do a memo from a template than it is to just sort of format it on your own. And I always choose this one because I think it's the easiest one to use, and it's pretty straightforward. Some of the others, there's just a little more design on them than, I don't know, than you kind of need. So once you pick that, you just hit create, and then you've got it here. And what you need to make sure you do is you want to make sure that you fill in all of the template pieces. So the company name here, you might put CNM. And then the recipient name is going to be me. And then you're going to put your name. Best student ever, right? And then You've got to decide if you're going to CC somebody. CC means carbon copy. It's like if you give somebody a copy. And if you don't CC somebody, you can just leave it blank. And then you're going to want to put the date here. So like the date today is 6. You want to put the date to do it. And then the subject would be the RE means regarding. And so you would put topic for, see how that kind of works? And then you would obviously take that out and then put the memo in there. So when you do a memo, you don't say hello, you don't say hi, you don't have a greeting or a closing. You have the to and the from already up here. So you don't need that. So you can just kind of start da 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 in these like imaginary words I'm having. But you can just start typing with it, you know. I usually suggest like using a regular Word document to kind of like do my, that's what I would do on a regular Word document, was I would kind of like work the text till I've got it how I want it and then cut and paste it into a memo. I just think sometimes that's a little easier, but you can just sort of see. But that's how to do a memo like this. Okay, let me go back. Oops, hang on one second. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Okay. So you want to have a subject line. You want to have like, that's kind of where you have your purpose. You can also use informative headings on a memo, where you could use like, you kind of give a little introduction to your topic, and then you could say some of the informational pieces that you're going to do. You could have little bold headings. Like if you, just kind of thinking, Victoria, about your idea about the economy of oil where you live. You could just talk about like history of oil in the name of the city, and then, you know, have another heading would be like present situation. You can kind of like put something like that. So you can just sort of decide how you're going to divide it. But it is 350 to 400 words. So using a couple of headings will, you know, it will make it easier for your reader. It's a good thing to kind of figure out how to do. Okay. Okay, and I think I'm going to go ahead and look ahead to week 5, which is a week from today, and then we'll go ahead and have a little time for questions. So on week 5, we have a few things for you to do, but the most important thing is that you're going to have your draft of project 2 finished. So you have this week and next week to get the draft done. So kind of keep that in mind when you look at your time and how to spend your time. And what you need to do and what you need to look forward to. Okay. Oops. So, what questions do you have?
So my question is, on the memo, do you just want the default font, or does it have to be Times New Roman?
Default font. Any font. Well, I wouldn't say any font, but don't use lobster.
or Comic Sans.
Or Comic Sans, right? Yeah, just use any. Yeah, default font is fine. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. More questions? Got it. Okay, so that's it for this week. And email me if you have anything. Go ahead and stop recording now.